The Morning Drive is sponsored by Power Metallic. To find out more about the company, please visit their website at powermetallic.com. Follow the Money Investor Group is a 100% Indigenous-owned company and certified with the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business.
Hey.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, thanks. This is cool format. I like this.
Yeah, we got Houston in the back, so if you hear a little bit of panting, that's the dog. But,
Yeah.
we're in Quebec City.
Yeah, we are.
And we're doing a morning drive. Just give us a quick intro of you and the company.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So Matt Filgate, President CEO of GreenLight Metals. Background is in geology. So spent 15 years working greenfields exploration, all the way up to big diamond drill out programs, things like that. So yeah, background's technical, but we started a company called Talisker Resources, and I shifted over to the corporate development side.
Okay.
And started focusing on capital markets, capital raising, marketing, and then got involved with GreenLight Metals. Would have been early 2024.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're so the whole thing's relatively new. Let's start with kind of where you grew up. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you
Yeah,
from?
yeah. So I'm from Vancouver Island, west coast of Canada, and went to the University of Victoria. I've been, since I was a young kid, I've always been really interested in rocks, like most kids. So my parents took me out when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and we went to Barkerville, which is a historic mining camp.
Yeah.
Went out there camping, gold panning, and
Oh, cool.
I just fell in love with it. And then, funny enough, I ended up working at Barkerville in 2014, and worked there as a geologist. Ran their exploration program up until 2019. We took that from 600,000 ounces. I think it's over 5.5 million now.
Yeah.
So
Sprott was a big investor in that, no?
He was, yeah. So I came in when the Osisko Group got involved in 2014, and I believe that they took his position. So Osisko kind of took Eric's position in the company. So it was, yeah. Look, my background, I've always loved the exploration side of things, and with GreenLight, that's where the company's at right now. We're in Wisconsin, down in the U.S., and so we're focused on exploration, belt-wide exploration, a large greenstone belt, the Pinokian volcanic belt, lots of VMS targets, lots of known VMS deposits, and our flagship asset is our Bend project, which has seen a bit of drilling. It's seen about 20,000 meters of drilling, and it's fully permitted. So we're going to be kicking off a drill program there in a couple weeks here. So kind of right at the start, we went public about a month ago, trading on the TSXV. And raised just under 4 million on that go public, and so now we're geared up, ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little capital markets. Like, how much of this thing do you own?
Yeah. So I own about 500,000 shares of it. I took a big portion of my first year's salary in stock.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I own about 500,000 shares. The management team's at about 8.5-9% of the company. And then we have Vestcor, who owns about 9.9. Delbrook is about 9.9. And then one of Lundine's funds, Broma, owns about 4.5%.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we have 71% is high net worth and retail, and that makes up about, four guys make up about 50% of that. So Jeff Phillips is one of our big shareholders. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeff Phillips. He's down in San Diego. Alex Gubbins, high net worth out of Peru, has been really backing this, big supporter. And so, yeah, look, we've had a ton of support on market. We've seen a lot of support. As we started trading coming out of the gate, there was some downward selling pressure from, shareholders that have been in the company for 4 years as it was private. And so we expected that. And, luckily for us, we have very supportive shareholders, and we were able to really clean that up fairly quickly, and now we're trading really well. We're at about 15 million market cap right now, 22 cents, 23 cents. So some good support, especially as we lead into this drill program. This drill program, it's on a deposit that has a historic resource of 4 million tons at 2% copper, 2 gram per ton gold. So very high grades, and we're drilling the margins of it and starting to expand on that historic resource our internal goal there is trying to get around 20 million tons, and I think it's very possible with that project, just based on the anomalies that we see kind of directly around the known 4 million tons. So yeah, no, it's very exciting. We're a new company, new kids on the block, but we we have a great exploration plan, a great exploration team, very Wisconsin-centric team. So our board of directors have a lot of pull in Wisconsin at a state level, community level, really allowing us to kind of operate and build those relationships and at a township level, county level, and all the way up to a government level. So yeah, no, it's been very good.
What other deposits would you say people could look at to kind of use as a historical?
Sure, yeah. I think probably the best comparable would be, the K mine in Arizona. So Arizona Metals, they have the K mine, very similar grades to Bend. I believe when they acquired that project, it was, and I don't know if they've updated a resource, but I believe it was around 7 million tons. Very similar grades to Bend, and they had a lot of success drilling around it and putting out really nice intersects and showing a lot of growth potential above that 7 million tons. So it's a good comparable. They had a big run up to, I think they were 500 million market cap at one point, but yeah, look, the market really likes VMS systems, and so that's a big reason why we're exploring for them, is because when you find them, they're fairly cheap to explore for. You can use geophysics in undercover areas to find them, and if you have success, they can grow really quickly and typically very high grade copper, high grade gold, lead, zinc, so a whole basket of different metals.
Okay.
And so yeah, we really like exploring for them. We think that there's a lot of upside, and you can discover them and get them into production on a fairly good timeline. So
what's it like working in Wisconsin with the government and policies, and are
Yeah.
there any indigenous communities there? I'm not that familiar with it.
Yeah, there is. Our main project area, there's nothing directly there. It's pretty rural. The closest town is Medford, Wisconsin, and we've seen good support from the township of Medford and the surrounding smaller communities. Wisconsin has an interesting history, right? It went through a mining moratorium in 1997 that was in place until 2017, and that basically shut the state down, right? There was no mineral exploration, no mining. So it was in 2017 when Congressman Tom Tiffany and one of our lead directors, Steve Donahue, drafted the Wisconsin Mining for America Act, which repealed the mining moratorium and basically reopened the state for mining and exploration. And they did that through permitting reform. The way that the state works now is very similar to Nevada. It's a 4 to 5 year timeline to get your project approved and into production. So I think in 2017 things really changed. And when we look at the state of Wisconsin, it's a very industrial state, especially central Wisconsin. It's dairy farmers, logging, like a lot of these big industries, right? And so there's an appetite for industry there. And so we're kind of the first company to be bringing mining back. We're in a unique situation where, GreenLight is the only exploration company in the state of Wisconsin right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a first mover advantage. It allowed us to handpick projects, go through all this historic data, because Rio Tinto was there, BHP, they were all there in the 80s, and they did a lot of good exploration. But when that mining moratorium hit in 1997, they packed up and left.
Yeah. What was the reason for that?
Yeah, it was in relation to the Crandon deposit. So the Crandon deposit was a discovery that was made back in the, late 70s, early 80s, and it grew into a monster, 60 million ton VMS system at 1% copper, 6% zinc, over a gram per ton gold. So I think still to this day, it's one of the top 10 largest VMS systems in the world that is undeveloped. But BHP had proposed a mine there, and there was big pushback from the community. And I think a lot of that had to do with the scale, the size of the mine, and the proposed tailings facility. And so, unfortunately, that went to a contested case hearing and was dragged out for quite a few years in court. And ultimately, the state's decision was let's put a halt, and it wasn't meant to be 20 years. So initially it was, let's put a halt on things and let's just take a step back and better understand our permitting process. And essentially that just caused BHP to sell the project to two different tribes for 20 million US.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So
And
those communities own it.
they own it, yeah.
And they're just sitting on it right now.
They're sitting on it, correct, yeah. Yeah, which is very interesting. That project has potential to be a real game changer for that area and that region. But yeah, from GreenLight's perspective, we're focused on Bend as our flagship asset, but making new discoveries in the belt is really key. If you look at the belt as a whole, and it's a very large greenstone belt, you have Crandon at 60 million tons. You have the Back 40 project, which sits about 4 miles on the Michigan side of the border, at 17, 18 million tons. And then you have Bend at 4 million tons, right? So where are those other deposits?
Yeah.
They're there, and we have a lot of good data to support, discovery, but you have to go out and drill them, right? And so that's what we're doing. We're focused on that. We're focused on making new discoveries in the Pinokian volcanic belt and bringing this industry back to Wisconsin. And we're very excited, and we're also we're an ambitious team, and we're going to be actively exploring there for a while.
Maybe shed some light on what it's like to actually be working in the U.S. right now with all that's going on, and the Trump administration sort of really understanding when they need to be investing in their own resources.
Yeah, look, I think the benefit has been huge, right? Like we're seeing it on the permitting side. We're seeing support from BLM, from Forest Service, right? They're getting mandates from the Trump administration to speed up permitting processes.
Yeah, get rid of the red tape.
Get rid of the red tape. And so we're seeing that in real time, which is great, right? But at the end of the day, we do have a four-year window here,
yeah,
right? To prove that we can operate successfully and build projects and push those projects forward to becoming mines. I think with the Trump administration, if you have a good asset, a good critical mineral asset, and our Bend project has high tellurium, copper, gold, all these things that Trump is looking for. If we have success and can grow something that's economic, we can fast track it,
right.
Fast track the permitting under the Trump administration. So as U.S. explorers, I think that we're all very excited about this administration.
Yeah.
Of course, on the market side, it's a little tumultuous with him being president.
Yeah.
But I think it all bodes. Yeah, there's pros and cons, exactly. But I think it all bodes really well for the mining industry, especially in the U.S.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we're very excited about it, and we see opportunity, and I think that looking at the timing of GreenLight and how we came, we were private for 4 years, and the previous management had tried to go public a couple times and had some troubles doing it. So I think actually in the end, the timing worked out really well, right? Bringing this type of story to a state that is, looking for new industry, has really allowed us to start to advance these projects moving forward, and do it in a very favorable political environment in the U.S.
Where do you think investors that are in the stock now, where do you think their expectations are with what you're going to do this year to kind of prove out your thesis?
Yeah, look, I think that the big catalysts for us are going to be drilling. Like as I mentioned, the Bend project has some very, very high grades, and so we expect those to continue as we step out along strike. So I think a lot of our investors invested because of the opportunity for discovery in the belt. I think that was a big component of it. Having access to such a large geological terrain with no competition is very, very rare. And it's an unknown jurisdiction to a lot of people. But with that risk comes major reward. And so I think a lot of our shareholders are very excited to see us start to drill some of these incredible anomalies that we have, start to advance Bend, and start to make some discoveries, because this is a market right now where you do get paid for discoveries.
Yeah.
And so you can't have a big project if you don't find it. And so for us, we know there's these missing gaps in the belt, right? Where the 30 million ton, the 40 million ton deposits I'm sure they're there, but the only way to find them is to drill, right? And so that's what we're focused on. We're focused on, of course, advancing Bend, but focused on making big discoveries in the belt.
For you, as the gentleman who's running the company from the top down, like what are some of the biggest headwinds that you have ahead of you?
Yeah, certainly success on the drill bit is where we're going to see share price accretion. We have some secondary assets that we're leveraging right now, working on divesting them, that will give shareholders quite a bit of upside. But certainly through the drill bit, through exploration, that's where we get that, the tailwind. I'm sorry, I know you asked about headwind. So you're asking about what is the issues that we expect to come up?
Yeah, like just some of the things that, like maybe, it's a late night and you're sitting there and you're trying to unwind, but it's like, oh, something's keeping you up at night. Or,
I mean, as a CEO, it's a lot of times it's the market, right?
Things out of your control.
Yeah, things out of our control. The best thing that we can do as a company is focus on execution, right? And not stress too much about what the markets are doing. If we have success at the drill bit, people will start paying attention. And especially when you make a big discovery in a belt that people aren't familiar with, that attracts a lot of eyeballs. So, yeah, I mean, when we first went public, I was extremely stressed about the share price. I was watching it every day, but we've cleaned that up now, and I've got a lot of support from strong shareholders. And I think the key thing now is that GreenLight's focused on execution, focused on going out, drilling, building out a resource at Bend, and making discoveries. I think that's really the key thing. But as a CEO, you're going to have sleepless nights all the time, right? It's the job we signed up for. But when I look at investing in a company, I always look at management team, projects, and capital, right? So if you have those three things, if you have good projects, a good management team that can execute it, and you have capital, enough money to execute it, then that's a great starting point. And GreenLight's there right now. So I feel very confident in our abilities to do this.
I have two questions for you. One of them is on the management. Someone looks in at the management and says, well, why should I trust that you guys have a track record to go out there and do this?
Yeah. Look, I mean, from my end, this is an exploration play right now, and that's my background. That's what I specialize in, and we've had a lot of success. Like at Barkerville, we put together 5.5-6 million ounces, and then when we formed the company Talisker, I went out, did a bunch of project evaluations. We brought the project Braylorn in to the company, which is now just under 2 million ounces and currently in production. So they're shipping ore over to Nicola Mining in BC.
Oh yeah.
So
that's a good. I know that company.
Yeah. So my last two projects that I spent 4 or 5 years with each company, both of those, Barkerville is at the beginning of going to production, and Braylorn is currently in production. So I've been there from the start, the early stage exploration, the project evaluation, all the way up to construction decision. This project, this company is at the beginning of that stage. But from a management perspective, we've seen that. We've gone through the process, and we have the ability to raise capital as well. And then if you look at the other side of it, Steve Donahue, who's one of our directors, he's worked in the upper Midwest permitting projects and being involved in the politics of it all for 30 years. So he understands the ins and outs of operating in the Midwest and how to get projects permitted. And so he's a real key driver to making this whole thing work. And so we have a lot of different people that are helping us as a company. On the technical side, we have Eric Quigley, who he's a geologist that's been working in Wisconsin for the last 20 years. Right? He knows these projects. He knows how to explore for them. He's drilled a lot of projects and had a lot of success. So yeah, I mean, you really got to build out a team that is going to allow you to be successful. And I think that we've done a pretty good job of that at this point. And look, the team will continue to evolve and grow.
Yeah.
Right? We've been public for a month, and we're just kicking off our first drill program. But as we start to make discoveries, as we start to advance projects, the team will grow. We'll bring in more VMS experts and people to help us with targeting and different things like that. But yeah, right now we're very happy with our team.
Last question, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
Marketing.
Yes.
You're doing some of that right now.
Correct. Yeah.
It's a new story, so obviously you're going to be looking to get this, put this on as many communities' radars as you can, and
Yep.
find as many investors that would be interested in this. So what's the game plan?
Yeah. Look, we're going to be doing some conferences. These one-to-one meetings are always really good.
Yeah.
Especially with the new story, we have a target audience. That target audience is retail in the U.S. As we go into capital raising mode, we focus a lot on institutions, but what really drives the stock, drives liquidity is retail, and this is a very U.S. centric story. So we're just finalizing our OTC listing right now, and once that's complete, and we should have it this summer, there'll be a lot of U.S. roadshows, U.S. conferences, engaging different newsletter writers down in the U.S. We work really closely with Jeff Phillips, who's been very successful, and he's a U.S. guy. So a lot of introductions in the U.S. is our focus. We're gonna hold off on heavy European marketing this year.
Okay.
This is, like I said, this is a very U.S. centric story, and we want to get it in front of U.S. audiences. And then next year we'll look to do more broad marketing, call it in Europe and other places.
Well, I like the plan. There's a lot of capital out there in Europe right now.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, there is for sure. And I think, as we grow the company and our capital needs change, then we'll certainly engage on that level. But
all right. Well, listen, I hope you enjoyed your first morning drive.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you driving me around. It was great.
And you'll be jumping on a plane soon and headed to Toronto?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Safe flight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll just back up the Cybertruck here.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so my email is matt@greenlightmetals.com. Happy to run anyone through the story at any time. And go check out our website, greenlightmetals.com, and follow along.
All right, thanks for watching.
Cheers.